They have rice on with everything, just a plate of rice with potatoes. I would say the best food that I had, it's called pique macho, and it's like the stir fry with like hot dogs and French fries, and it's a little spicy, but it's perfect. It's so good. It's like the delicacy down there, and they've got a lot of traditional plates as well. One thing that I'll warn you of is chuño. It's potatoes, and you'll have to ask the first member that you meet how they make the potatoes. They're a little dry, and you'll learn why they're dry, but it's good if it's made the right way. Besides that, they will feed you over and over and over and over. Like, if you're done with your plate, I remember just like barely finishing, and as soon as I put the last scoop in my mouth, there was a new like plate full, and even if I wasn't hungry, there was just more food. And that's really how they show that they love you. And they love to give you drinks as well. You'll drink lots of Coca-Cola and lots of Pepsi. So the food's great. I loved it. Here's a spoiler. They prepare it by putting it out on a tarp, and then they stomp on it, and then they put it back in the freezer, and then they freeze it, and then they put it back out and sun dry it, and then they stomp on it some more just to get all of the liquids and water out of the potato, and then they freeze it again, and then they prepare it. So that's chuño. It's like I said, it's done. If it's done well, it's pretty good. I love how humble they are. It's family first and almost all the time. I really like how open they are to love you, how open they are to accept you into their homes. I mean, if they can find a way to celebrate something, they'll celebrate it. The biggest thing is Carnival in February. They just love to basically have a huge water fight for 2 days. So my recommendation is don't wear clothes that you don't want to get wet. Because even if it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, what you have in your hands, they will throw water balloons at you, they'll throw buckets of water. Sometimes it gets worse and it's like paint. Basically, they just like to have fun and enjoy that. The 6th of August is their Independence Day, and that day is very special to them, as is our Independence Day. They really enjoy just kind of being together with the family, and that's the biggest thing, is they love to be with their families. And so within or on a certain holiday, they'll have grandma and grandpa come from wherever they are and come with aunts and uncles and cousins and be there with the family there to celebrate and to enjoy that special time. But that's the biggest thing, and they're very accepting of having visitors on holidays usually, if they know you. Definitely they like soccer, but besides that, they just like to be with people. They like to converse, they like to work, they like to do different things. I mean, I wouldn't say there's a specific thing besides soccer is probably the number one, but besides that, just having a fun time, and they do like to celebrate. They like to party. They do like to greet you with a kiss. And another thing is, try not to leave food on your plate. If you reject someone's offer to feed you, that's kind of, it's pretty offensive. One thing that I did see is that there were a lot of single parent households in Bolivia, and it gave us the opportunity to kind of talk to them about their experience. And some, I mean, the experiences they had were quite different. Some of them, their significant other or their husband or wife was working outside of the country. Others that they had passed away, or maybe that they had been divorced. Cochabamba's climate is actually quite pleasant. They call it the eternal spring because it never gets below 70 during the day and doesn't get much above 90. So it's quite pleasant. During the rainy season, which is about November to March or April, there's lots of rain, and when it rains, it rains. It's not just a little sprinkle, it's going to rain a lot. It's nice though, because it doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. Now if you go to Potosi, which is at 14,000 feet, then it gets pretty cold. You get into about 20 degrees at night with not much insulation, so you want to bring an extra sleeping bag or an extra blanket when you're there. And so that's pretty cold, and you'll get some snow, not a ton. And if it snows, it melts right away just because it gets super hot during the day. It's a pretty safe place, especially for me because I'm kind of a bigger white person. People wouldn't like to come close to me that wanted anything, but as long as you're walking where it's lit and different areas, they'll tell you the things that you should do and things that you shouldn't do. And as long as you listen to them, and you're pretty safe most of the time. I never had any experience where anyone wanted to do anything to us and to me, or to steal anything off of me. And And then so it was quite nice. It was pleasant to know that people wanted you to be there. There is public transportation. They're called Trufis. It's like a little auto bus, and it's packed full sometimes, and it's empty at times. And basically, it's just as many people as can fit on the bus. That's how much they'll take, and you just give them a little coin, and you go. That's the best way to get around, the cheapest way. There's taxis all over the place. I considered it a miracle every time that I got in a taxi and I came out alive. So that was pretty fun. But it was good. I loved just kind of seeing a different way of doing it, because here everyone has their own car, but there they pretty much rely on the public transportation, and you'll get and had to learn of what line takes me where and what's the quickest point from A to B, and a lot of times you just spend it walking. So it's pretty cool. And then also from traveling from city to city, you travel on what's called a flota. It's a big bus, and they travel on dirt roads. So what would take it normally here in the United States of a 90-mile ride takes probably like 4 hours just to get through, just because they're riding on a dirt road. And so it takes a while, but it's a good time, because it's the cheapest way of transportation for them, intercity. And so it's pretty cool to kind of see that, and just to get a new perspective of it all. And there's actually a pretty dangerous road in Bolivia, but it's like the most dangerous road in the world. And it's basically just carved right out of the mountain, and it's big enough for like 1.5 cars, but it's a two-way road. And so as you're going up, you kind of just have to give way to whoever's bigger. And then at times that causes one tire to go off the edge, and basically you just hope that it makes it. I never had the opportunity of traveling that road, thankfully. But that is one thing that Bolivia does offer, is the world's dangerous road. The currency is the Boliviano, and it's 7 Bolivianos for $1. So everything's relatively cheap there. So there in the markets, you can kind of get everything you need. And so there are a lot of Brazilians and Peruvians as well. They come to, mostly it's college-age students there to be in the university to study, because it's cheaper there and it's a good education. So they like to be there and to get that. The Brazilians love to speak their Portuguese, and they'll let you know that they're from Brazil for sure. But they're very nice people as well. And it's interesting to kind of learn from their culture, and to see why they're there in Bolivia and why they're there in Cochabamba. But I didn't get to deal a lot with the Brazilians. I dealt more with the Peruvians, and it was cool to connect with them, because it's so close to Bolivia that they would just come for work or for school. So they take the double R sound and they turn it into a Z instead. So instead of how you say dog, instead of saying perro, they say peso. And so I would always think that they were saying an S or a Z there, and I was really confused. And they speak slow. That's one blessing, is you don't have to worry about the quick Spanish. It's pretty slow, and they speak so you can understand it. Bueno, mis amigos bolivianos, mando mi amor. Espero que todos ustedes estén bien. Espero que pueda verlos otra vez muy pronto. Los amo.